quite fascinating. There's a packed crowd in here, probably just shy of 15,000. Kyrgios likes to play the match and the game of tennis at a high tempo. He's known for that. Nadal, on the other hand, of course, likes to slow things down, and Kyrgios is really trying to get into Nadal's skin. After the first set, Nadal went off for a comfort break, which he's quite entitled to do. Nadal has been on the end of a battering from Kyrgios, and Kyrgios was trying to get into the ear of the umpire as well. He's constantly commenting and chuntering away, trying to pick a fight with anybody that will listen, and that's what makes this matchup so watchable. So at the moment, Nadal leads by a set, but Kyrgios is up by a break, leading 4-2.
Oh, sounds absolutely fascinating. I'm very jealous that you're there. Also, lots of, more upsets again today. Let's start with, I guess, Angelique Kerber, defending champion, out.
Yes, Angelique Kerber, surprising in terms of the seeding here, but beaten today by the world number 95, Lauren Davis, fittingly on Independence Day. It's been a busy day for the American players, so Kerber, another big name to go. On the men's side, the 2017 runner-up Marin Cilic, he was beaten in straight sets by the Portuguese João Sousa today. And John Isner, you remember him? He's played the 2 longest singles matches in Wimbledon history. He was also a semi-finalist last year. He's been beaten by Mikhail Kukushkin. And Chloe, if you could just hear some chuntering in the background as I was speaking there, that was the voice and a good example of Nick Kyrgios not happy at all. He's leading now 4-3, but he is really trying to pick a fight here with the umpire Damien Dumoussois, who's having to be very experienced and keep his nerve and keep control of this match. He's known for it, but Kyrgios now standing actually in front and trying to bait Dumoussois, and I think he's treading a very fine line here. He's probably not too far away from a public warning and a code violation.
Time.
Fascinating, Chris. Also, let's talk about Serena Williams, because I looked, she dropped the first set, didn't she? But is she pulling things back now?
She is. She's just equalled up, and she's taken the second set against the Slovenian teenager Kaja Juvan by 6-2. So they're a set all there. That's over on court 1, the new show court, of course, with the roof. So real drama here unfolding on day 4. It's been one of those breathless days, Chloe. It's really difficult to know which match to look at. There've been so many stories. But as things stand, we've got Rafael Nadal, the 2-time champion, a set-up but a breakdown here, and Serena Williams going for that elusive 24th Grand Slam title, a set all over on court number 1.
Thank you very much. That is the BBC's Chris Dennis. Now, sex workers in Amsterdam's famous red light district may soon no longer be able to advertise themselves in its windows. The city has its first female mayor, Femke Halsema, and she's proposing a number of changes to overhaul the city's sex trade. One idea is to create an erotic city zone with an entrance gate. Well, earlier I spoke to one woman who works as a sex worker in Amsterdam. She's called Lily. She's worked there for a couple of years, and I asked her what she made of the idea of banning the practice of standing on display in a window.
I would say the first 3 options of either having us work with the curtains closed or lowering the windows or completely getting rid of the windows. I think these 3 options, none of them are in our best interest at all. It's simply what the government thinks is best for us. I personally think they have a different agenda. The 4th and final option of keeping the windows and maybe expanding the workplaces would be the best outcome for sex workers, would keep us safest. But I don't believe that that's what the government truly intends to do.
So explain to people who maybe haven't been to Amsterdam or don't understand how this works. Why do the windows make you feel safer as a sex worker?
So the windows are actually one of the safest ways to sell sexual services in the Netherlands. You have complete control over your work. Every single person who works behind the window is an independent business owner. So that means we decide when we work, how we work, and who we work with. We have the right to say no at any given time as well. So we choose our clients, we choose how long we work, we choose what services we provide. Not all of us are selling sex. And yeah, we have almost complete control. The only thing we don't have control over are our taxes. And having to pay the room rent, for example. But besides that, it's very, very flexible work. In comparison to working in a private house, for example, where I have worked in the past, there you do have relative freedom in choosing clients. but the private house will take a portion of your money from every single client that you get. Whereas when you work in the windows, you just pay your room rent and your taxes, and everything else you keep for yourself.
The Mayor of Amsterdam is quoted as saying that women can feel vulnerable and humiliated working in the windows.
Right. I am completely insulted whenever the mayor says this, to be honest. She is really making huge assumptions about how we feel. And from my perspective, I'm very proud to stand in that window. I'm not ashamed at all. And I think I see myself as a very strong person. When people try to disrespect me, they're degrading themselves. I'm not the one being degraded.
What about some of these other proposals, for example, one of which is moving brothels out of the city centre? Do you think that's a good idea?
I do not. I think what also makes the working in the windows in Davalo so safe is how visible it is. It's very easily accessible to healthcare providers, to law enforcement. Also, the fact that tourists are constantly around means that people can look out for you. There is a sense of community. If you move that outside of the city, we're not going to have that same sense of security. You're not going to have that same visibility. And it's when sex work is less visible that it becomes more dangerous to do.
And what about this idea of a gated erotic zone, so that it's kind of in a smaller area and you have to specifically step into it? Is that a good idea from your point of view?
I'm not really sure about that one, to be honest. I think it sounds very good in theory, but I'm not sure how it would work out in reality. You would have to make sure that enough people are there. But from my point of view, I really like that I do work in an open area where anybody can come in as well. I like that everything is mixed in the red light district. And I also like that there are tourists there. Tourists are our best clients. And if it was a gated area, I'm not sure we would get as many of those tourists coming.
One of the issues that has been raised is human trafficking. And the mayor in Amsterdam does feel that she wants to try and crack down on this and protect those women who are trafficked in, who don't have a choice. And clearly that's not you, that's not the people that you're talking about. But can you understand why she's trying to protect those people?
I can certainly understand it, but the mayor herself has admitted that she does not have numbers on the amount of trafficking. And if you ask the people who work here, the numbers would be either zero or very, very low. I think there's just a very big stereotype about sex work in general, and people assume that you wouldn't do this work unless you were forced to or unless you were in a very desperate situation, which really couldn't be farther from the truth, at least when it comes to window workers. And if you want to combat trafficking, shutting down legal places of work where you have law enforcement regularly checking you, where you have health officials stopping by to make sure you're okay. If you close down these legal workplaces, it doesn't mean that people suddenly stop selling sex or that prostitution stops occurring. It just occurs under more vulnerable situations where actual victims have a much more difficult time getting the help that they need. So it's the fact that the windows are so visible and so public that, makes it much better, much easier for people to get help if they want it, if they need it. But I do think this problem of human trafficking does exist, but I think it's been grossly over-exaggerated because people are tainted by their own moral views on prostitution in general.
So you haven't, in your work as a sex worker, ever come across anybody who's been trafficked?
I know people who have fallen under the definition, because the definition can be very, very broad. If you come from outside the Netherlands and somebody has helped bring you here and you came here specifically for the purpose of working in prostitution, that person who helped you come here would be defined as a trafficker, even if it's your friend. So I know people who have fallen under that definition. They have been exploited in some way, but at the same time, they willingly chose to migrate and they willingly chose to sell sexual services. That was not where the exploitation came in. The exploitation came in and the fact that